number 6.
Woo!
Who's Friends podcast. We have Miss Chelsey Moore on episode number 6. If you don't know who she is, you should be ashamed of yourselves for one. But hopefully by the end of this podcast, you guys will know a little bit more about her, and eventually in the future, you can have a cool leg like mine.
Bam.
Boom. What up, Chels?
What's up?
How are you?
I don't know. I'm pretty good, but I'm not a Jimmy. What am I going to do?
You don't gotta be a Jimmy.
Oh, can I get a mustache?
Heck yeah. I'm sure we can filter something on. We'll just push really hard. Before we get started, though.
Okay.
Ready?
Ready. Cheers.
Episode number 6.
Blink.
All right.
Ooh, wheatgrass. Why'd you do this to me?
Wheatgrass, I know. We're gonna stay healthy.
To 30s.
Yeah, to 30s, to our 30s.
Oh, man.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell my story and you tell yours.
Oh, God.
Okay.
Okay, I'm ready.
We had probably met a handful of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Probably at a brewery. And
yeah, probably Tractor.
Probably Tractor.
Yeah.
I think it was 100%. I knew Aldo before I knew you.
Yes.
We were buddies. We became buddies. And then we played a show. It was an art fight night.
It was.
And all of Archetype
Everyone was there.
was there.
Yes.
And so I got to meet, and I knew Aldo. We were buddies, and I got to meet everyone else. And I was like, dude, like this is the shop, right? you meet everyone. And I'm sure with the crew, it's only gotten better, right?
So good.
But that night, like I met everyone. I'm like, dude, like it's such a cool group of people, right? So everyone's having beers. We're having a good time. We played a show, hung out, and then time went on. Time passed.
It had.
And then I don't know where I was working at the time, but me and the boys got issued in a magazine, Albuquerque, the magazine.
Yes.
For the best of the city.
The one.
And I used to, the home office of the company I used to work for was down the road from Satellites off of Jefferson.
Ah, yes.
You remember that?
The old Satellite.
And so I go in, and I stopped every now and then because it was just, right there. And I go in, and I saw the stack of magazines. I'm like, oh, shoot, we're in this one. I think this is one we're in. And so I ordered my coffee, and I don't think you took my order for the coffee. I don't remember. Do you remember? I don't remember. But so afterwards, I was like, I'm going to get a magazine, actually, just in case I think this is the one. So I take it up, and you were the one who helped me buying the magazine.
All right.
Do you remember this at all?
This sounds familiar.
Yeah?
Yeah.
No?
Yeah, yes. I swear.
So I'm in the magazine, and like as you're ringing it up, I'm like scrolling through to try and find the band stuff. And you're like, oh, and I think this was Masks. I don't know if it was Masks.
Yeah, it might have been.
I think it was.
Yeah.
And so I'm going through, and you're like, are you in there? Are you in the magazine? And I was like, yeah. And I said, me and my brother was in the band, and right away, you put 2 and 2 together, like the Gershon brothers.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah, how do you know? It had to have been Masks. I probably would have recognized you.
Yeah.
And you're like, Chelsey, because you were an apprentice.
Yes.
And you're like, Aldo? And I was like, oh my gosh. They're like, yeah. I was like, that's so crazy. So then we started talking about tattoos and all this stuff. And then I was like, you're an apprentice? Like, you need to practice?
I do.
And I was like, you can start on my leg? I was like, I want to do my leg. I was like, I don't care. Like, we can do whatever.
Woo!
And then I came with the idea to do all the state flowers that me and the boys had played in.
That's dope.
And time went on, and here we are.
We're doing it.
We're doing it.
We even have one this week.
We have this week. So this is going to come out way past, a few weeks past the recording of this.
It'll be done.
Yeah, but today's the 16th.
Mm-hmm.
17th? 16th?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of them.
16th of October. I have an appointment with Chels on the 19th.
That's right.
Wednesday.
It's coming up.
We're going to do New Mexico somewhere. We're going to have some fun.
Mm-hmm.
How hard was it? Okay, I'll start with this. High school, middle school, art.
So much art.
So much art.
I loved art. I was always in middle school, drawing on people. I was doodling all the time. I remember giving these little Sharpie tattoos to people of this very specific skull with a mohawk.
Sick.
Because this is my specialty.
Punk rock.
Skull with a mohawk.
Give it to everyone.
Everyone has one. So, yeah, I always really liked it. I even wore these, Halloween sleeves, of tattoos, just to have them. I remember my middle school English teacher being so supportive. She's like, yes, keep it up. Keep doing you. And so that was really fun. And then through high school, I always loved art. And my teacher was always really encouraging. My art teacher, Miss McCoy, shout out if she's still there. But yeah, it was always really good. And when I started college, I was like, that's it. I'm going to be serious. I'm going to go the science route. And my art teacher was like, no, don't do it. And so I still went for it. And then I was like, Miss McCoy.
Was the one who said don't.
She said, no, you're an artist, clearly.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to be forensics, like everybody. And then, I started college. I remember sitting there my freshman year in the dorm doing biology and chemistry and calculus and being like, no. This sucks.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing this. It's just going to get harder and harder. And so I jumped around on a bunch of things and tried a bunch of different stuff because I had a scholarship. It was basically free, which was awesome.
Yeah.
But ultimately, nothing really ever satisfied me the way art did. And it's kind of funny just looking back, from where I am now, just how it was always there. But it's just cool that in the end it could be a career, and being able to create things for people every day is really a special thing for sure.
So sick. Was it before, how far back can you remember that you were interested in art?
Let's see.
Like kid?
Just kidding.
But
perhaps, yes, always. I was always drawing. I always remember doing art, and both of my parents are actually very good artists as well, but never, I think, took courses or did anything. They were in the grocery industry, and so never had a reason to, unless we were drawing together. Mm-hmm. But really, they're pretty good. So I think that really rubbed off on me, and I had sketchbooks my whole life. For Christmas, you'd always get sketchbooks and art and stuff like that. And I always I think the art of creating something, whether it was sewing something or drawing or painting or making little Play-Doh sculptures. I've always really liked having a thing when you're done that you're I made that.
I did that.
I made that.
Yeah.
So I've always really enjoyed that, and it goes back. I mean, my mom fished out this thing, and it's hanging up in my booth, but it's an old thing I must have done when I was maybe 10. And it's Chelsey's Tattoo Parlor, but tattoo spelled wrong. And it's get lost, angry face, and then wind and stuff like that. So it's kind of funny, and just I always really loved Avril Lavigne, so I'd always draw her and tattoos on her and stuff. So it's kind of funny. I've always really liked drawing in general. Definitely always been my favorite, but through college and even high school, you get to experience different art forms and stuff, and that's fun. But I've always been able to see my progress with drawing and painting a little bit more than anything else.
That's pretty crazy. That's cool though. You have that thing from way as far back as that when you were young that you can look back and be or do you look back and say, I'm doing it? I'm
always in the stars.
Yeah, right?
But
do you do that though? Do you see that and you're I'm doing it now? I did it.
Absolutely, yeah. It's, again, just in hindsight, it's kind of crazy. It was really always there, being the kid that would draw on people or wear the sleeves and then, do the drawings, and then the high school teacher that believes in you. It's really very, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool to know that it was there and that it could be fostered by supportive people to be what it is today, which is really very special.
It's exciting. I always liked, so first of all, I am a horrible artist in the regards to drawing or painting. But
it's all right.
But I like the thought of it. I really like you said, I did this, right? You could see something. Buddy of mine that we talked about was a really good artist, and he was young. I had a head injury when I was young. It may or may not have been his fault.
Oh my!
We can laugh about it now, but I got pretty hurt. And I remember I was in the hospital, and I wish I kept him, or maybe they are somewhere. But he was drawing me get well soon things, little dirt bikes on it, and we were young. And like you said, from then to now, I could look at him and see the same thing.
Yeah.
From then to now.
Yeah.
And it's pretty wild to see the progress,
Yeah.
right? You're always trying to, learn new things, and I feel like getting out and seeing different types of art is the big, huge plus for that.
Huge.
But every time I tried, like I did like a tin punching class one time, I'm like, I suck at this. Like, how hard is this? I'm like, I just can't do it.
But how many times have you done it?
Once.
Yeah.
I know. If I put in more time. But that was my next question. Do you feel like, I'm sure people can learn it, right? It's not an impossible thing to learn. You got to put in the time. You can learn it. But when I see someone like you, I feel like people like you and a lot of people who are like living their dream job pretty much, you're born with it.
Yeah, it's funny. I kind of feel it goes both ways. Like, I do think, like, innately, maybe you have that creativity somewhere in you and you foster it, and then it becomes better and better and better. But it's funny because I feel the same way about music, is that I've always loved it, always appreciated it, like, definitely tried to learn to play the drums, but it was never something that I could stick with or that really made a lot of sense to me. So I didn't foster it and I didn't, like, go for it. Versus, something like drawing, which is what I do every day. It's something that I can see myself growing in every day, which, you stick with something, I think you always get better at it. They say something like 10,000 hours of anything makes you an expert or something, so.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, that's a thing.
Tim! Maybe I'm going to start trying a lot of different things. Okay. I'm just going to put in a little bit of time.
Just a little time.
But, I mean, I always thought, like, so when older brother Tom, mom and dad were like, you can get a tattoo when you're 16. He made a horrible deal. He broke the deal, right? No. So I said, you can get a tattoo when you're 16. We'll sign off on it, but that can be your only one. And I was like, dude, you can't wait 2 years and then do everything. So he didn't. He got the one, and then obviously got more. But I was like, they made me the same deal because I don't know what I wanted. But like, yeah, 16, we'll sign off on it, but that can be your only one. And then like, I'm good.
I'm good.
You know what I mean? And so I waited till I was 18 and, started getting a couple here and there. But I'll ask this. Do you think the fear of needles correlates to any type of tattoo? I don't think it does. Because I have a handful of tattoos, and I've also gotten an IV.
Yeah.
And it is completely different.
Yeah, absolutely. I get a lot of people that, say that they are afraid of needles and whatnot, but I feel like it's so different than getting stuck with a needle for an IV that it's a different sensation completely too. It's not just like a complete jab or anything. I mean, it's more like a scratch than anything. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think people do fear it, but in our head, it's a little worse than what it really
actually is.
So yeah, I definitely think that's the case.
Yeah, because I never had an IV. I've never donated blood. I don't think anyone wants my blood, but
blood.
But I was like, I needed an older brother. EMT, I think intermediate now. Always been in like the emergency medical stuff, fire stuff. We had a big show. I think it was an album release at the El Rey, and I was like, dude, I just feel weird. And he's like, dude, you're dehydrated. So let me give you an IV before the show. I'm like, sick. That sounds so nice. And like now being a little bit older, I'm like, I could use an IV like a little more now.
Every day.
Yeah. But I was like, yeah, cool. So I went to his house. He's like, sit on the couch, relax. So I sat on the couch. I'm like, oh. And because that's what I always heard. Like, people like, oh, I don't get tattoos because I'm afraid of needles. But I'm like, oh, but I have tattoos, so I must not be afraid of needles, right? Vice versa, right? That's how it should work.
Let you go.
And so I sat there, and I was like, oh, yeah, we're good. And he's like, oh, dude, you got good veins. And like, sick. And I'm watching it, and I was like, oh. That's weird. And I looked over at his girlfriend, and I was like, whoa. And she's like, are you okay, dude? And I'm like, I don't feel good.
I don't think so.
And she's like, you are very pale.
Oh, no.
And I was like, am I going to pass out? And she's like, just breathe. I'm like, okay. So then he does what I stopped looking after I start to feel funny. So I look away, and he's doing whatever, and I look back down. I'm like, okay, I feel like I have to look at it. I want to make sure I'm good.
Yeah.
So I'm watching it, and he's like moving something around in there. I'm like, whoa! I was like, dude, what are you doing? You're going to like tear through. And he's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, the needle. He's like, the needle doesn't stain you.
Oh.
And I was like, what? He's like, it's just a little rubber piece in you now. And I was like, oh. Huh. So I'm good. It's like, can I touch it? He's like, yeah. And I was like, oh,
Touch.
we're good. It's like, I'm good. But like watching it, I was like, that's way different.
Totally different.
And even like on my knee, I did a slow-mo video.
Oh yeah.
Whenever you were doing it, and it's like you see you're starting to shade, and like the blood will come up a little bit.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you can see the needles, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it's super different, and plus I think that.
Got me all weird.
Ew. I feel that the way like tattoo is nowadays is totally, in a way, it's very chill. Like the machines are quiet, the needles are in a cartridge, and I mean a lot of people still use the traditional the coil method, but where it's louder and stuff. But a lot of people at our shop use the rotaries, and they're quiet. You can't really even barely see the needle.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a lot of that plays into that scare factor where, you're expecting something totally crazy, but when you really get there, it's like, oh, like I can deal. Yeah. This kind of sucks, but I can deal.
Yeah. Then all you have to worry about is like a little bit of the pain.
Yes.
Not the actual what's happening.
Exactly. Unless it's on your kneecap, that shit sucks.
Yeah. What's funny though is people who see it, they're like, oh, dude, how bad was it? Yeah. And I'm like, honestly, not as bad as I thought.
Not the worst.
But what I tell people is the little marg I have
the marg
was worse than my knee.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I feel like it's not the knee, it's surrounding areas.
I agree.
That gets spicy.
I agree, yeah. Where you hit everything is like totally fine, but all this.
Yeah. Like bone, like elbow. I'm like, oh, elbow wasn't bad. But like back here was bad.
Why?
It was rough. But yeah, it's pretty funny, like the fear of people with tattoos and needles, and like now I'm like, it's not what you think it is.
Yeah.
Like if you feel like you really want to get a tattoo, and some people probably shouldn't get tattoos.
They know who they are.
Yeah. Well, you all know who you are. But people who like really appreciate the art, like go for it. Like, get stuff. Like all my stuff. There's even the one I think means the least to me still meeds something to me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an experience, if nothing else.
Yeah, and I remember the first time I heard, a rotary gun. Mm-hmm. And buddy of mine who did my arm just switched over, and I was like, what's that?
Why is it so quiet?
Yeah, and he's like, oh, it's my new stuff from, I don't know, whatever. I'm not going to shout out companies or anything. But I couldn't even tell you what it was. But he always had good stuff. He always did good work. And he's like, oh, this is like a new thing. Everyone's getting into this stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, does that make you like feel more calm? I'm like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, actually.
Because like a traditional gun or like a machine, it's loud and you're like, it makes you like a little uneasy.
It's coming. Let's do this.
Yeah. But I always kind of enjoy that oddly.
Yes.
But like going to that, I'm like, oh, this is like, do your best work. You know what I mean? And I forgot who I was talking to. But like, oh yeah, you can put this stuff on now to where you won't feel anything.
Yeah.
And I'm like, so pretty much what you're saying is, kids in the future can be completely covered in tattoos, and they won't have had to experience any tattoos the way that we've experienced tattoos. And I was like, I don't like that.
Kids these days, I swear.
And I'm like, I don't like that. Like that kind of bothers me. And he's like, why? And I'm like, because like I know what my ribs feel like.
Right.
I know what my knee felt like. My worst one is probably my wrist. I know what my
wrist is rough.
I know what my wrist felt like.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're just like gonna put some cream and do 3 hours and have whatever. And I'm like, dude, that's kind of a bummer. Like, I appreciate it because sometimes you want that stuff, right? But I'm like, I wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Anna was like, so you really enjoy that? I'm like, no.
No.
I'm like, no, not at all. I'm like, but I feel like that's the price to pay, right?
Yeah, and then you have it forever.
And you have it forever, and you have like in my case, my artist is really good. Sometimes it's not so good, but I'm like, so then after you deal through the pain, you can look and be like, this is so sick, and you have it forever.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there's like a lot of talk about people or celebrities. I think Post Malone did it where you go under like anesthesia and you have basically 4 tattoo artists doing like your whole back piece, and then you're done with it. But then when you wake up, you deal with the repercussions of that, like you would with surgery. But yeah, I agree. Like in that moment, it's kind of like, wait a second. I've had to do my back piece for a whole year and die pretty much, but in the end you have something beautiful that you're like, I can appreciate that I did this. And you have a moment.
Do it normal and have a handful of people work on your back at the same time, like normal.
Yeah,
like how gnarly would that be? And it'd be horrible, but yeah, I didn't know that. That's kind of a bummer.
Yeah, it's kind of like sad, and then I feel like I sound like an old person right now, but you see like these AI arts and these things that they come up with, and I'm like, oh no, is that something that we're gonna have to deal with? But yeah, agreed. I think that people love the art of tattoo because of the connection and that it is like a person doing it for you, and of course you're trying to do it as perfect as you can, but it's a human doing it, and in the end it's those imperfections or conversations, and you have this piece of art from an experience. I think that all adds up to the tattoo experience.
100%
for sure.
And I feel like most arts, like in the future we could have robots doing any job, right? And
absolutely.
probably and they could probably do it perfect,
right?
But it's those things that you said. They're like, oh yeah, I could go to this robot and probably pay less and get it faster and all this stuff, and people will do that. I'm sure people will do that.
Go ahead.
You can go ahead, but you won't have a Chelsey Moore piece.
That's right.
But I feel like it's a bummer. Like the same, it's just a bummer to think about that. But I feel like there's nothing can replace someone. Performing art. Like to see someone giving a tattoo or drawing or painting or playing music or whatever the art form is. There's no way that robots can recreate the feeling of that.
Absolutely.
And so I'm like, with any art, like maybe a lot of other things, I'm like, oh yeah, robots can do that job. Let them do that job. You know what I mean? But any art form, I'm like, it's not going to be the same.
Is it art?
Yeah, it's not. It's not. I'm like, it's not. But it just wouldn't be the same. You can call it art, and it's not art.
It's not art.
Yes,
But I mean, I feel like you said, just that whole feeling of, in a way too, I think tattoo's very cool that, you can see it in its process. Maybe there's a lot of times in art that you don't see that and how something comes to be. But like if you see a portrait tattoo or something halfway through, you're like, oh, that's what it's going to look like. And then boom, you work a few more hours and you see the process. I think that's a really cool thing about tattoo that I really hadn't thought about until just now. But yeah, it's seeing the process and the way someone works to get to the final product, which is pretty neat.
So I feel like a robot would just be like a scanner, right? So if you want a portrait, it's just gonna go straight down and it's gonna do everything for you. Whereas someone is gonna do everything individually. And then at the end, you have your completed product.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. I'm glad you thought of that. Cool. We're all learning things today.
Today we are thinking.
We're learning things. We're using our brains. So, going back a hair, because it intrigued me a little bit. You're very smart.
Wow, thank you.
I know for a fact, but for people who don't know, the field you were in before tattoos, that's not a dumb person thing.
Yes.
Everything you said, I'm like, oh no, you lost me. Right? From a homeschooled kid to this stuff, I'm like, oh no, you said, I can't even pronounce the words you said. But I'm like, you have to be very smart.
Thank you.
To choose that field or to be intrigued by that field. Like people who aren't very good at like math and a lot of other things or science or anything would never be like, I want to do that, because they know what it takes to be involved in doing that. And it's very cool to see, because I feel like sometimes lazy people try and do art to get out of doing something that actually takes some thinking, right? And whether that be they're talented or not talented, they choose the easier path and trying to do something else.
True.
But I feel like it's the people who say, I'm going to do this instead, and then you're like who you are as a person, like a smart person, a talented artist, plus you have smarts. it'll always bring you back. Because of your smarts, it'll always bring you back to what you're best at.
Woo!
Right?
Yeah!
It's crazy to see.
It is a trip. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things I feel like I could have done, but there's something about the challenge that comes with art that has always really drawn me. I feel that there's a lot of jobs, for me at least, that, you know, you work at it, you get good at it, and then it's just like the same old thing every day, and then I'm like, oh, like I can't believe I have to go to work again,
nuts.
you know?
Yeah.
But to me, art has always been that thing that it's always a challenge and you're always growing. And I mean, if you look at something that you did a year ago, you can see your growth. And I think for me, that's a huge draw for the, especially just in tattoo, there's so much to learn all the time. People are learning techniques and things to see and ways to execute certain details or colors. There's always something to learn, and I think I need that.
Yeah.
I need that in my life.
Yeah. That's so cool, though. Like, for me, like, not knowing anything, I'm like, that's so interesting. Like, I probably listened, like, if you talked about all the stuff, like, you're learning now, and what's crazy is that for most people, like me, I would see, like, yeah, you can grow as a tattoo artist, but for me, I would say, how much can you grow?
Right.
Right? Because I don't know very much. Like I said, I'm not a very smart person.
Come on.
But in music, I'll relate it to music. I'll say the same thing. How good could you be at guitar?
Right.
How good can you be at drums? And the answer is, you can never stop.
Is there an answer?
Is there an answer? Yeah, it'll never stop as long as you keep trying to learn.
Yeah.
And again, art in any form is a pretty wild concept for people who don't enjoy any type of art. And now I'll say, like, for anyone watching, like, try something.
Do something.
Do something.
Do
Music,
something crazy.
Drawing, painting.
Just give it a go.
Not tattoos right away.
Don't do that.
Wait for that. Start drawing first. But like get involved in some type of art. And when I was young, like I said, I did like drawing stuff, painting stuff, tin punching stuff. In high school, I did art, and like I really enjoyed it. But I was always like, I was never very good.
Yeah. Totally.
And I'm like. That's why I asked the question, like, do you think people are born with that?
Yeah.
Because some people are.
Yeah.
100% believe some people were born to do a specific thing. And that thing usually is something they love.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I always encourage people, like, try something, like, with drums or whatever it is. Try it out. You never know until you know.
Yeah, there's infinite possibilities. And I mean, kind of like you were saying, what can you get to? Like, what is the best? Like, is being on Ink Master the best? Or is, just creating crazy works, having a ton of followers, like being happy with your work? I guess the possibilities are endless. I feel like when I go to a convention, I'm like, oh my God, like the people that are here are insane. They're working on the same piece for 3 days straight. It's just like an absolute work of art, like ink in the skin. I cannot believe what comes out of that. So, striving to do something like that, I think is an ultimate goal for me at the moment, just being able to win competitions and stuff. But, when you're at home and stuff, I mean, I feel the love. It's so good. I feel like I'm giving good art, but like then you go to something like that and you're like, oh my gosh, like
humble you a little bit.
Yeah, humble is very much so. Yeah, it's very wild. It's wild what's out there for sure.
That's what's funny is I only see, I only follow a handful of people who do tattoos or any art really. I follow friends.
Yeah.
I don't follow guys. Where we got last?
What's
was
that?
it Idaho?
We went to Ohio.
Ohio.
Yeah.
Ohio was last. I don't follow anyone from Ohio.
Yeah.
Right? Or there's a lot of traveling artists who go to, just like you guys did.
Yeah.
It was you and Aldo, right?
Yeah.
Just you two went?
Yeah.
There's a lot of traveling artists who do things like that I would never hear of, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm lazy, so I would never try and find these people. Right?
Sure.
I'm like...
That's understandable.
I know you and Aldo. I'm good.
I'm good.
Right? That's it. I'm good. And I know other people in other art forms. I'm good.
Yeah.
I don't need to know anymore. But to see you guys go out and do that and say, oh, well, Aldo wants stuff, right?
Yeah. Aldo's amazing. Shout out to Aldo.
Aldo, dude. But yeah, like to see that, I'm like, oh, there's probably more to it than I comprehend.
I feel like it's insane. Just the tattooing, I guess, on the surface level is, really cool art that's made in the flesh, but really when you're in it, just the decisions made in a tattoo and like what people are capable of creating just with ink and needles and flesh it trips me out. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much more to it than just making a drawing. You're thinking about color theory and line weight and shapes and composition and everything. So, I mean, it really, when you see something that wins and seeing what was put into that, it really is like, wow, like these people are next level.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's pretty heavy.
It's crazy.
It's pretty crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, you play music and stuff, and I'm sure you love what you do. You guys are amazing, but then you see, these crazy rock stars, right? It's like, oh my God, it's crazy.
So I would say in music, you can see people, for being like we'll talk local band. I feel like we've done a lot for a local band.
Absolutely.
We've been all over the country.
All over.
We've done a lot of stuff, a lot of really cool things. We've met a lot of really cool people, a lot of strange people. That's everywhere though, and I feel like that's part of like the charm of traveling and seeing new places. Like I talked to a buddy about like just getting out and traveling a little bit. I'm like, dude, like here in Albuquerque and New Mexico, like we have our little bubbles, right?
Yes.
And we have our friends and we have everything, but I'm like, expand a little bit, and traveling will open up your eyes
completely.
And you're like, oh shoot,
yeah.
There's a lot, not a lot of better people. But like there's a lot more to learn than what we have.
There's a lot of people out there
in our bubbles.
Yeah.
And people are very talented in a lot of different things. For me and playing music, I can look at local bands and I can always learn something, right? But I feel like GB's, we've done pretty good for being a local band.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we can go out or we can listen to bands or musicians we like, and we're like, dude, how the heck did they do this?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you just don't get it. It's like right now you might not comprehend it, but then it might take a little bit of time. And you're like, oh, I get it.
I see it now.
And so whenever I first started playing guitar, I couldn't get like the timing of it. Like, it was just timing, and I knew how to play drums. And a buddy of mine's like, stop doing that. Like, stop doing what you're doing. I'm like, I'm playing. I'm trying to play like drums, right? And I'm like, and he's like, stop. He's like, just do this and hear it and feel it. Like, you know how the song goes, because I was probably like learning like a cover song.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's like, stop, relax. You know how the song goes.
You got this.
Try and do that.
Nice. Don't
Don't try and play like how you think you should play it. I'm like, oh, okay. And then it clicked.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's not what I thought it was. It's way different, right? Do you think, like a lot of other art forms, I would say not, or I would say no. But do you see now being in like the traveling thing and like doing that there's ever like an end to people getting better? Because like, how good can you do?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I mean. I think it's really important to travel and see other things. Just because when I started, I was like a COVID little baby tattooer, and so all I knew was here. And then, yeah, I'm so grateful for Aldo knowing about the convention circuits and whatnot and taking me to these shows. And they're not little shows, they're shows with like badasses, So, I mean, it's really inspirational. Sometimes it's a little bit, like we were talking about, humbling, just like, wow, I have a long way to go before I'm where those people are. But at the same time, it's really amazing to be exposed to that and just know that there's skills to acquire and things to know. And yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's a limit when it comes to creativity. The human brain is crazy that way, especially creatively.
Creatively?
Yes, that. Look it up.
So, if you don't know it, look it up. But does it? Cause going back to like playing music, like I can see certain aspects of music and like learning music, and what it would take to for some musicians to get to where they are now.
Right.
Like me and Spanish Jimmy were talking about our buddy Reagan, who's like classically trained.
Yeah.
Went to school for it. I'm like, dude, that guy, like, and I always tell him, I'm always a little lame like this. Every time I see him, I'm like, dude, like when people ask me who my favorite drummer is, like I say you. Like, granted, you're a local guy, right? Yeah, and that's exactly how I feel, because I don't know people, I don't know famous musicians, but I know what it went for you.
Yeah.
To get to this,
right?
And you're my favorite drummer. I'm
that's
like,
so sweet.
and I always tell him that, and he's always like, "Shut up," you know what I mean?
Shut up.
But he is a very talented drummer, and I'm like, and me and James were talking, like, dude, what if we had, because he's a drummer too, a great drummer. What if we had went to school?
Mm-hmm.
How much better would we be? Like, you don't think about these things, you know. And I said maybe like band, and we said maybe band or whatever was kind of lame. And you don't want to be in band because you get made fun of. But at the same time, I was probably wearing like the tightest girl pants that I could wear, that I could find.
So cool.
Freshman year, you know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't have mattered if I was in band too. I was already a joke. You know what I mean? Like,
come on, that was the style.
I know, but I was already being made fun of. So I'm like, what would band would have added to it? You know what I mean? That probably would have made me cooler.
Fair.
Because I had buddies who were like the tightest pants too. I'm like, I want to be like them. Who are a little older, and they were amazing like drumline drummers.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, dude, that was the style then.
It was in.
Shout out to that stuff.
Shout out.
I still love it.
I still love the skinny jean.
What was that video? It's not a... What is that? Was it TikTok?
Perhaps.
It's like, it's not a... Choices.
It's not
It's not a phase. That one. Yeah, it's a lifestyle, Mom.
It is.
And I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, and I still have like pants that I wear that are like tight maroon.
Yes.
I love it.
That's the look.
Yeah, that's just... I've never changed. Like, I'm wearing sleep pants cut into high shorts right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've never really changed.
You want to show off the tats?
That's what I'm saying right there, especially for this episode. But like, I've never really changed that much. And I wish I had like the long, smooth hair.
Oh man, that was the look.
But I can grow an afro.
Oh,
nice.
I
can't like do that. And
You'd have to spend a lot of time straightening your hair.
So Mom relaxed my hair one time.
No.
And it was so bad. It was so bad.
Oh man, for the record, I love your mom.
Yeah. But Mom's like, are you sure? And she asked me, are you sure?
Oh no.
Because Mom has like the same hair. Thick, curly. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm sure. Because I thought relax meant like change the entire composition of your hair. Just be straight and thin. And no, it was thick, straight hair. And I'm like, there's probably pictures of me. And I'm like, what the heck was I thinking, right? But I'm like, that's just how it was, you know. And not all my friends, like I had a very diverse group of friends. I had like cowboy friends because how I was raised. Like I had friends who were cowboys. I had friends who wore tight pants. I had skater friends.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
And to this day, I'm still friends with like
most of them, right?
Everyone.
Yeah, that's
and,
awesome.
You know, there's not like I don't know. I'm not friends with like cliques in high school or anything. Like I would go from like the cowboy table wearing my tight pants to like the skater table, and for the small like little bit of public school that I did. But yeah, it's just funny to see, like, you even then, looking back, like, you saw people where they just had it.
Yeah.
Like, oh, dude, like, I would put money on you getting older and doing this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which I have friends who I still feel that way. I'm like, dude, I'm so glad they're doing that still. And, like, I couldn't see them doing anything else.
Right.
But for music, like, looking back on that, you know, besides, like, the wish I would have learned this then, I can see, like, famous people, and the human part of my brain will say, I'll never be that good. So why am I going to even try?
No, you have to.
That's what I'm saying. So, right? And that's, from a professional artist, would say, that's just out of your head right away.
Yeah, you have to be. I feel, not to interrupt, but I feel like, well, I took this class that was talking about limiting beliefs and stuff, and that you can't limit yourself to that, otherwise there is no potential for growth. And so when you have those down moments of being like, I'll never be better, like, I didn't really like that piece, I really messed that up, I feel, honestly, that's your potential to get out of that and do something great again. But you just gotta believe in yourself. You gotta be 80% confident at least.
Yeah. That's deep though. But sometimes is that hard?
It is hard, yeah, absolutely. especially as an artist, I think that you always have doubts about things. I was just watching Ink Master with my mom, and one of the artists were like, I just really wasn't feeling that piece or whatever, and she's like, do people really feel like that? I'm like, all the time, you know? You have your doubts about things, but ultimately there's a lot of times where I feel like it's just you that sees that, and trying to overcome that and do better the next time, or try something different, or studying something that might make the piece cooler. You have to. Otherwise, you do just stay stagnant, and you won't grow. You gotta grow. Gotta be uncomfortable to grow. Dang!
That's deep. But real quick, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with the maybe second or third part. Who knows? We were back.
We're back.
We're back. We're doing it. We had a bathroom break.
Mm-hmm.
We had some good conversation that we probably couldn't talk about.
No, we didn't at all. It's just coming
on
back.
the podcast. But the gist of what we were talking about before we came back on was traveling is very eye-opening.
It is. It is.
I'm pretty tan, but my legs are pretty white, right?
Boom. I guess.
Maybe not. I'm seeing the
Perhaps.
camera now, and I'm like, maybe not so much. Maybe higher up on my arms.
Oh man, yeah, the farmer's tan.
Yeah, it's
real.
pretty big. Farmer's Town's pretty big here. But like I say, I always encourage people to like try something new, try an art, any type of art, travel, see new things. Because if you're stuck in your little bubble here, it gets pretty monotonous, and you get pretty tired of the same old song and dance, right?
Right. You gotta try new things to grow.
You gotta try new things, meet a lot of people. And so I think my biggest takeaway from traveling is and this is something our great uncle, who's probably like, if you ask any of the boys, our greatest musical inspiration was our great uncle, mom's uncle.
Aww.
Old hippie, Vietnam veteran, long hair, Nike SBs, like he just the coolest dude ever, right? That cool is timeless. You'll never
awesome.
be like there's never like there's phases of cool. Or what is that called? There's phases of being cool.
Yeah, being cool.
I forget what it's called.
Oh.
But for him, he's just always cool.
That's awesome.
Right? And so he's given us a lot of help and advice over the years, and talking to him, he's like, if your show's empty, you never know who's in the crowd.
That's true.
So play like if there were major people in the crowd.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you ask me and the boys, like probably one of our favorite shows, we were playing for like 8 people in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I told the boys, well, this kind of sucks, right? That's probably like our lowest show we ever had. But I was like, you never know.
Yeah,
You never know, so let's just kill it, right? And that was probably the best show we ever played.
Oh, that's awesome.
I mean, we played a lot of really big venues from the coast to coast, a lot of really cool places, but like that was probably our best show. Just because we enjoyed it the most because of like the thought of like the what if, and we never regretted playing good, even though there was no one there.
Yeah.
It was the 6-8 people that we had there, and like, dude, you guys are so sick.
You were gonna have the best show.
Yeah,
I'm gonna play to you.
And we had a blast. And then like taking that on the road, like you never know who's there. And so we're in LA. We finished playing the Whiskey A Go Go, and it's probably 2 a.m. And mom and dad pull up the RV. We're loading up all the stuff in the RV, and we had paid our friends from here to do videos and pictures for us at the Whiskey specifically, because it's such a big show for us. And so we're out there, we're talking, or we're maybe finishing drinks, I don't know. But Sunset Boulevard, and these 2 guys come out of the bar next door. Did I ever tell you this story?
I don't think I've heard it.
Okay.
Go on.
Because if I did, I probably wouldn't tell you. But so these 2 guys come out of the bar next door. It's the Irish pub. And like me and my buddy who was traveling with us, because he wanted to go on the road with us, see what it was like. Like, dude, let's go in there. But it was kind of a tight schedule. I'm like, we can't go in there, whatever. And then these 2 guys come out of there, and we're like, dude, what are you guys doing? I'm like, we're just partying, hanging out. And then they're like, were you guys playing here? And we're like, yeah, we headlined. Last band out. Everyone's closing up now. He goes, oh, it's like you must be like kind of a big deal. And we're like, oh no, not at all. So we got lucky.
Actually.
And I was like, we're no one. And he's like, well, and it goes to Instagram and Facebook followers. I'm like, a few thousand or whatever. And he goes, oh, he's like, what's wrong with that? I'm like, for like nothing, whatever, And he goes, can you, I don't know who recorded it, if he recorded themselves. He goes, can we make an Instagram video with you guys? And we're like, sure. The guys were drunk. And so we're like, sure. It's kind of weird. He goes, I have a lot of followers on Facebook and Instagram. And she's like, oh, sure you do. He goes, I want your dad to honk the horn of your RV, and me and my buddy are going to dance to it.
Okay.
And so Dad's like, and these guys are like, dancing however, robot probably. Yeah. And then he goes, that was so sick. And then we're like, what? These guys are drunk, dude. And he goes, my maybe girlfriend or wife, I can't tell you. I don't even know the show. But we had people message us. They go, I watched that show on ETV or whatever. So his girlfriend or fiance or wife had her own show on, I think it was ETV, reality show. And he's like, I think he was a chef in like a power couple or whatever. And he tagged us in his post and said, thanks to the Gershon brothers for this. We had a fun night or whatever. And we're like, what the heck? And so like, we did the whole thing. He's like, I'm going to tag you in later. And we're like, oh yeah, sure, man. Have a good night. And then like a few hours later, we get a notification and we're like, oh shoot. He has like 100 and some thousand followers.
Oh my god!
Like this guy is someone.
He is somebody.
You know what I mean? So like that's hilarious.
Damn.
And then like we shared his post. He tagged us in, and we had people like commenting on it. Like we watched that show on, I think it was E. We watched his wife's show or whatever. That's so crazy you met, and they knew him by name. That's so crazy you saw him, and we're like, oh yeah,
sure.
He's our buddy now.
That's
it's like
awesome.
You never know who someone is.
Yeah.
And in your profession, do you have those people?
Yeah.
Like that everyone knows?
Well, I feel like, just to like backtrack a little bit, I feel the same way where you never know what something's going to lead to, where, you could be doing a small, maybe like a heart or like an infinity symbol on somebody, but then next thing you know, they're like, I want a sleeve of this whole thing. So, and then they tell their friends, who tell their friends, who tell their friends, so it's kind of the same way. I mean, you never know who you're tattooing. I think there was one time where I got to tattoo a agent or somebody who was related, or not related, but helping like 11 from Stranger Things. You never know.
Sick.
So it's pretty crazy. You never know if just you're taking a walk-in that happens to come in that you're like, sure, I have time. And you do something small on them, but then you never know what connect it could bring as far as like their friends or their more and more people. I mean, that's really the game in tattoo, where you want to do a good job, you're nice to them, they have a good experience, so then they refer you to their friends, who refer to their friends, who refer to their friends. And I can't tell you how many people I have that say they know somebody that I had already tattooed, which is really cool. Mm-hmm. I think that's like a really cool thing.
You're doing good.
Yeah.
People are saying you people.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like you said, it might be something small and might seem simple, but you never know what it could lead to, for sure. Which is awesome. Yeah.
But are there people like in the industry that you, as an artist, can say like, if you were to see them at either a convention or in public, you would know who they were? Like, are there people like of that status in the tattoo community?
Oh man, absolutely. Of course, there's people that you see on TV that are, doing it, or people that have really made a name for themselves. Like, for example, there's a extremely famous portrait artist, Nico Hurtado. He's amazing. Like, there's just people that you follow and that you like, and you hope that they could, if someday you were to get tattooed by them as well, that it would be an experience that you could always enjoy and cherish and stuff. But yeah, definitely, there's people out there making a name, whether it's through like doing apps or just making great art, or I don't know. But yeah, there's definitely people out there that are insanely good.
That's cool. I will say one part of seeing Aldo's stuff is his Matty Mullen thing he had.
Oh yeah, he got to tattoo Matty Mullins.
And I'm like, dude, that's so sick.
He tattooed him, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
That's pretty wild.
And I'm like, dude, like Memphis Mayfire, like this guy's giving you a tattoo, like that's so crazy. And Matty Mullins is such a good dude. And I in the future, I want to have Aldo on so we can talk about this.
Yes.
But I'll ask this. I'll say this. I'm like, dude, like, how does that even happen, right?
I know.
But I guess for someone like Aldo, like as cool as that dude is, you're like, oh yeah, that's Aldo.
He's never afraid to throw it out there, and I feel like that's a really good inspiration for someone like me. Is like, hey, I'm here. I'm a tattoo artist. If you're gonna be in town, like, I'll be here if you want to get tattooed.
Have you done that?
That's how it happens. I mean, I haven't, but that's how it happened. Really, is you give your card to the merch person and say, I'm here.
Yeah. That's sick too. Okay.
Very cool.
We talked about the becoming of Miss Chelsey Moore and the talent that is now. It's continuing to grow.
What else do you want to know?
How do I word this? We talked about born with it, learning it, which I feel like for some people these things come easier. Like for you, hearing your story, I feel like it came a little bit easier. Have you seen people? How many people have you seen come in and out since you've been doing it?
Tattooing?
That you saw, like, maybe they weren't made for that.
Yeah.
Or if anyone. If it was zero, then the better, right?
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's those people.
Absolutely. I mean, there's been a couple just in my short career that we've had at the shop that just didn't quite make the hustle, I guess. I mean, it really is a lot of work and a lot of extra work that I don't think people necessarily see. So I think that there's definitely been a couple that we've had to, pause for later times, and maybe they can come back and hustle again. But it's a lot of work being a tattoo artist. There's a lot of behind the scenes that a lot of people don't see. So, I mean, you just really got to hustle as an artist. I think there's a lot of work to be done. Like, you can do your own work, but and a lot of times there's a lot of commission and extra stuff that you have to do behind the scenes that I feel it takes a special type of person, for sure. No doubt.
I feel like a lot of unpaid work.
A lot of unpaid work.
Because you would get paid for
tattooing.
Mm-hmm. Like, so there are commission art pieces that you'll do or whatever that is, but like your main job is tattoos.
Yes.
And so there's like countless hours that you put in to create the tattoo for someone, and then that you charge them for just your time doing that, that piece.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of people that do it different ways and whatnot, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into thinking about a tattoo, or maybe like a sleeve that you have to really put in a lot of work. I mean, most like even half sleeves just take about 12 hours of drawing and thinking on your own before you even get paid to tattoo it. So there is a lot of behind the scenes and a lot of stuff that I think people genuinely appreciate, but maybe don't necessarily understand completely that, that's my Sunday, Monday, and that's my weekend. So there's that, for sure. There's a lot of times where you have to go the extra mile, and I think that when you're like a counter person or an apprentice, you have to think about going the extra mile in ways that you can for maybe your artists, so that they know that you're worth the time and that you are going to put in the effort when it comes to being a tattoo artist.
Yeah.
For sure.
Are there like, for apprentices, are there a specific artists attached to that apprentice?
Yeah.
Or is it like I'm not saying it's not a team thing, because I'm sure the archetype, it's a team thing, right? And everyone's trying to put in their thing. But like in general, is it like a one artist to an apprentice type thing?
Yeah, absolutely. So like legally, there's a one artist sponsoring one apprentice. And so it's really that artist's responsibility to make sure that they're hitting all these marks, and there's a very specific curriculum that you go through. But, I mean, in the same moment, that apprentice can learn something from everybody in the shop, not necessarily just the mentor. But absolutely, that definitely plays a part. I think the more you can learn, the better. And our shop is full of 5 artists and 1 apprentice, so like having 5 brains feeding into one person is definitely, you're going to gain more knowledge than you would just with one person. Not necessarily that like that person doesn't know everything, but there's plenty of knowledge to go around.
Mm-hmm.
And same with me too. When I was learning, Aldo was my mentor, but I learned something from every artist that worked there, for sure. So, and I think that really plays into like a growing better artist over time as well, when you learn things from several people. And again, it's that importance of traveling and knowing other people as well that can tell you things, which is really cool.
I mean, I always laughed at like you whenever you first starting. I don't know what the first one was. Probably the one in the back was the first one, right?
That was the first one.
And you're always like, oh yeah, Aldo, that's my. And I always laughed and like you said, that's my sensei. I'm like, that's like a cool reference.
That's
to,
my
to,
boy.
to how it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love Aldo, and that dude, very talented dude. But I always just like that you said that. But like, do you think there's not like that? I want to ask it like that. How does someone get into no, that's still wrong. Would you label yourself a specific artist?
You mean like in terms of style?
Yes.
Or I definitely think people can develop a style over time. I think that it's important when you're beginning to try all things to see what you're liking and what direction maybe you'd ultimately like to go. But there's so many different types of people. I mean, tattoos are as different as the people that get them. So I think experiencing all
That's
that.
deep.
Yeah, experiencing all that is a good thing just to know. And, some days you might have something that you're really confident in doing, and then some days you might have something that you're like, this is going to challenge me, but ultimately, hopefully, I grow from it. So, I mean, do I believe in having a specific style? I think that you can, like, ultimately, as your career grows, but I think when you're beginning, it's important to kind of explore it all.
Keep it open.
Yeah. Definitely.
I will say, for mine on an anniversary, we went to go see a comedy show. And it was at the convention center, and the merch ladies were a little older. One of them was like maybe 60s, 70s. One was probably like 30s, 40s. And as we're walking up, we're looking like, oh, let's get something just to remember, whatever.
But we did it.
We didn't need anything, but like, let's just get something to remember, right? So we're looking at stuff, and I was like, no, that's kind of cool. I might want that. Oh no, we're sold out of your size. I'm like, nah, whatever. And so I ended up getting a shirt just because I wanted something. And the older lady, probably 60s-ish, she goes, while you guys were looking at like the stuff for sale, she goes, I was looking at your leg. And I said, yes, ma'am.
Hello.
And she goes, California poppies. I said, yes, ma'am. She goes, those other ones. She goes, that's Pacific Northwest. I said, yes, ma'am, Washington. She goes, oh, yeah. She goes, this one. What's that one?
She knew what was up.
She knew her flowers.
Oh,
and so I was like, oh, shit, this lady knows her stuff. And she goes, can I ask, if you don't mind, why you have all these flowers tattooed on you? I said, well, you know your flowers, obviously. I said, these are the state flowers of all the flowers of the states me and my band have played in. She goes, oh, so you're like in a famous band. And I said, no, ma'am. I said, I'm in a little band, and we've just played a lot of places. And she's like, isn't that a famous band? I go, not at all. I was like, no.
Come on.
And I was like, no one. I was like, we could go back to any of these places, and no one would know who we were. It was like totally under the radar. I said, we have played some famous venues. I said, but no one would know who we were if we went back. I said, but I want to remember, like, we were able to do this.
Yeah.
We took the time to do this. Like, so. And she goes, well, who does your tattoos? And I was like, well, my friend Chelsey, archetype. I was like, and she was like, oh, I don't have any tattoos. I wouldn't get a tattoo. She's an old lady. She's
just
like,
wondering.
She's like, that's really, like, they're really pretty, though.
Aww.
Like, they're like, really, like, vibrant, pretty. She goes, I don't have any tattoos, and I wouldn't get any tattoos. She's like, but your leg is really pretty. And I was like, my leg's really pretty.
Thank you.
And you know what I mean? And so, like, I was laughing because I'm like, for guys, you're like, you want your leg to be pretty. My leg's pretty! Pretty leg! And then I'm like, my leg's pretty. And I was totally good with it. I'm like, you know what? I was like, Chelsey did a damn good job.
Oh, thanks,
I was
dude.
like, my leg is so pretty. But
Glad we could do it.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's always growing, and I can look at it there in the camera, and I'm like, dude, we got some ways to go.
We got some stuff.
Got some ways to go. But she even knew this one. She even knew North Carolina.
That's really cool.
She goes like, is that dogwood stuff? I was like, yeah, North Carolina. And she's like, that's so. She's like, you guys have played a lot of states. And I'm like, I don't want to count them now on the camera because I feel like I wouldn't know how many states we played.
That's fair.
We played a few states, but we're not done yet.
More to come.
More to come, and that's kind of like that's what I wanted to do. Like the goal is to maybe come up higher on my thigh.
Yeah.
Like fill up the lower half so I can come up higher. But,
oh yeah.
But I've always been very interested in like the art side of tattooing, and I'm glad you got to come on and answer a handful of questions.
Yeah.
But I want to take one more quick break before we
Fair.
end it up because I got to go to the bathroom. So we'll be right back.
All right.
One more break. We'll finish it up.
French Jimmy got a lot smaller.
Oh,
There he is.
Sorry. Here, sit up here. Right there.
Heave.
Okay.
All right.
We're going to finish up this episode number 6. We got a guest star here.
Oh my gosh.
We got a tattoo fan, wouldn't
Cheers.
you say? Are you a fan of tattoos?
Mm-mm.
No, why
Not
not?
yet.
I do that. I do the widow.
You're too little?
He's too little.
But when you get older, do you want tattoos?
Uh-huh.
You might
Do you
want some.
Do you want Chelsey to do your tattoos?
Mm-hmm.
I'll be
Yeah?
all old and crippled, but I'll do
I
them.
do bit for widow.
What kind of tattoos do you want?
I do widow.
But what when you get older, though, what kind of tattoos do you want?
I'm doing big.
Yeah, but what do you want? Like maybe like a dinosaur?
Ooh,
Yeah.
a dinosaur.
A T-Rex?
Yeah.
Oh.
I have a T-Rex.
Where is it?
On my back.
Maybe she'll show you after.
Yeah.
After the video, she'll show you her back. Okay? Do you have any
Big.
other questions?
What do you want to know?
I found one with $3.
Huh?
Excuse me?
Come again for big fudge?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yep.
is that good?
That's some good strawberry soda.
Do you have any questions?
Can't relate.
Okay, what other tattoos do you want Chelsea to give you? What else do you like?
Tops.
Triceratops?
Is that your favorite?
Uh-huh. It has horns.
Some horns. I
How
like
many?
it.
1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10.
No. How many Triceratops?
1, 2,
1.
3 horns.
It's fight.
And they fight?
Uh-huh.
That's pretty scary when they fight, huh? Okay, well, let's go back inside. You go inside and we'll finish our video, okay?
I did with you.
You do it with me?
Uh-huh.
You want me to do it now?
Yeah.
All
You
right.
just gonna hang out with us?
Mm-hmm.
Let's do
Okay.
it.
Cheers. Thank you for hanging out with us.
Bing.
Chelsea, cheers.
Cheers. Friend.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay.
So cute.
With all the art and lessons learned, and we can look at the future of being an artist really in any platform, right?
Yeah.
There's really no end. Like if you look at even like my thing is like I can look at like dirt bikes and stuff. I'm like, that's insane what people are doing now, right?
Right.
So then I can look at music and be like, man, that's insane what people can do now. And it's hard for me to see like a
Daddy heard it.
okay. It's hard for me to see in like a drawing or painting or tattoo application like how far it can go until you see someone
Mm-hmm.
who's like who's there already.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh shoot, I have that far to go, right?
Absolutely.
And I feel like it's a big part of being like a someone who wants to learn. Is seeing that and not being discouraged, but more so motivates you to be like, oh, I can. I've made it this far,
Yeah.
right? And I feel like if I were you and I had that picture in my booth from when I was little. I'd be like, dude, I made it this far.
That's right.
The opportunities are endless, right?
Yeah, absolutely. If I thought about where I was 5 years ago versus now, which is how long I've worked at Archetype, it's just so heartwarming, I guess, in a way. You could never picture yourself here, but here you are. And then, yeah, like you said, you see these people and you're like, wow, they're there and I want to be there, but what are their goals, you know? So there's always something to strive for. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Mine.
Did you have any questions?
What do you want to know?
I'm on favorite tops. And do you want nuts?
Where you want them?
Where are we gonna
on your
put
leg
him?
or your arm?
Right on your neck?
I do little.
On your face?
He's too little.
I do little.
He's too little.
Too
He's
little?
got 14 years.
Nah, man, we could do it right now.
No.
Chels brought all her stuff.
Right on the bottom of your foot.
Okay, we'll go inside until we're done. We'll be right in.
I'll deal with you.
But you're jumping all over the place. You can't jump all over the place.
Stay.
You just gotta hang out with us. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. I feel like a major booster in morale and not just shop morale, but like confidence boosters is having a good boss.
Absolutely, yeah.
I feel like your guys' boss is
Dude,
one of the best.
amazing.
Right?
I really can't get over how amazing it is to work at Archetype. I mean, Ben is somebody that always makes sure he knows where we're at and where we're happy and does a ton of stuff for team building in terms of like going to Angel Fire and having a good time
Saw that.
together. Yeah, and I feel like that's such a special thing. You don't see that everywhere for sure, and Archetype is really, really a family in itself. So I always feel surrounded by people that support you and believe in you, and I feel that makes a big difference.
Yeah. You got anything, son?
Son.
Sit down. Just relax. Hey, if you want to be in here, you gotta sit down and relax. If not, go back inside.
Ooh.
Okay? Very spread eagle move of you right there.
Wow.
Okay, go back inside. We'll finish up the video. We'll be right in.
I do.
I stay.
We'll climb back up. You just gotta sit down, hang out. You can't be jumping around all over the place. You good?
Chilling. We're chilling.
Fish.
Finish?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I got fish.
There you go.
There.
Now you're
Okay.
in.
You see yourself in the camera?
There he is. Booyah.
And I do.
There
Yeah.
you are.
Who's that? The Chels?
Yeah.
That you, Daddy?
That's
There's
me.
Dad.
Yeah.
The Jimmy.
Yeah. Is Jimmy here?
No.
He's not here right now.
What are
He
we
was-
doing?
He was here a while back, huh? For a
He.
video?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Do you feel like I mean, it's
What,
probably good.
Daddy?
Yes.
Is that beer?
This is beer, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want your soda?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll sit back.
Got it.
Got it.
Either.
Do you feel like anyone in the shop has a specific style? Or is everyone pretty well-rounded? To where someone could walk in and say, hey, I want this, and they'd be like, oh yeah, we're good.
I definitely feel like our shop is pretty well rounded in terms of being able to do anything that walks in the door. But yeah, I mean, like, Aldo loves New School, Eddie loves Black and Gray, Carlos does amazing, like, comic book, like, Skulls and Roses and those sorts of things. Ben has his, like, crazy clientele, but does amazing, like, Black and Gray realism and Japanese and all that. But I think there's things that everybody likes, but that everybody can do. And I think that really plays back to what I was saying about being able to do everything, but enjoying certain things definitely more than others.
Yeah. I know we kind of talked about pain tolerances for people. Is that is it kind of just like the individual, or is like a guy girl thing, or
girl.
right? Or what is it?
I definitely think it's individual, though I do think evolutionarily women are able to take pain better than men.
No arguments. No arguments.
But yeah, I mean, it definitely defers to the individual. I've had people that can sit for 8+ hours, which I think is insane, but also people that can sit for a few hours at a time, and that's okay. It's not a race to the finish, or anything. It's what we can get done with quality. So
yeah. Are you good, man? You good?
That Band-Aid on your head is affecting your brain.
Let me take off the Band-Aid right now.
Nope.
Take it off right now. Right here on camera.
No.
Okay, then relax. Why are you moving all crazy? We're just hanging out with Chels. Relax.
We're
good?
chilling.
Okay.
We're chilling. We're talking about golf or whatever.
We want to talk about golf. What do you want to tell Chels about golf? Is it hard? How hard is it? Hey, where have you been golfing?
I didn't.
Where'd you go, though? Golfing. Me, you, and Uncle Mylan, where were we? But where were we with Uncle Mylan golfing?
In boards.
Yeah, but we're hitting balls, but where were we? Remember we took the plane? Where were we?
Flying on it.
Yeah, but where do we go to see Uncle Mylan and Auntie Daphne?
Landing.
Where, though?
A house.
Was it in North Carolina?
Where?
At the house.
But where was their house?
At the Atlanta.
North Carolina, yeah. Good
That was
job,
it, for
son.
sure, yeah. Golfing is so fun. I never thought I'd like it, but I do. I like driving the balls way out if I can. Sometimes.
What brought about the team gym thing?
Team gym, you mean at like the CrossFit gym?
Yeah.
Well, when I first started at Archetype, son, you're crazy. When I first started at Archetype, most of the shop was doing CrossFit, and I was like I'd always been somebody that had made fun of CrossFit, and was like, I do not want to do this. But did it.
Hey, go back inside if you're going to do that.
Ooh.
Just relax. We're hanging out. Sit up. Chelsea's telling us a story.
I did it because I wanted to fit in. And then as people kind of dropped off of doing it, kind of stuck with it. And then me, although in bed, have really kind of stuck with it this whole time, which has been really awesome. It's really hard, and it's as hard as you want it to be, I suppose. But I do really enjoy having people to go to the gym with, and CrossFit Zephyr has been a lot of fun. I really feel like accepted there, which is a lot of fun. And when you walk in and people are like, hey, Chelsey, like, what's up? That feels really good. Yeah. And so, yeah, it's a lot of fun. We stick with it, and we definitely try to keep it up, because ultimately tattooing can be really hard on your body. So we're good to keep it up. Later.
Come on. Well, alrighty then.
All right.
But no, whenever I it might have been going on longer than I realized. But whenever I saw that, I'm like, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like if I were to try and go to the gym by myself, I wouldn't last. But the fact that you have, like, Ben and Aldo and stuff like that, it's like, that alone, like, to have at least one or two people say, come on, let's just do it.
Let's just go.
Let's just go. Like, what, you know what I mean? It's really cool to see.
It's been really good.
But we'll close it up.
All right.
I've learned a lot of questions I'm too embarrassed to ask most artists.
Let it out.
But how I always try and end this is, I don't know. You said you started watching them.
Did.
So you might know the question, but would you rather? And I feel like I know your answer because, like I said, I know how smart you are. And then I know your views on the future. But I'm still going to ask the question the same way. So would you rather go back in time
Ooh.
and give advice to yourself,
Dang.
or give advice to future kids, apprentices, whatever it is?
Oh my gosh.
So, it's a simple but hard question.
It is.
Because you can look at like, well, if I knew what I knew now, I could get here faster. Because you know what you know, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or take the hard road and live your normal life, but you can pass that hard knowledge on and make it easier for someone else.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel that my experience really made me who I was, and that I could definitely, I don't think anything I would change about my past self, really. Like, really what I've learned and done and been through has made me who I am and appreciate what I have. So definitely passing things on to people and just knowing what I know, and really even having our apprentice Marina. Hi, Marina. It's just that
My card will not get declined again.
That's right, Marina.
I promise.
Do not do this to
This
him.
coming Wednesday, it will not be declined. It will not be an awkward conversation for everyone in the building.
It's nice to share your knowledge. Like, I've been the youngest person in the shop for a long time, so having that, knowing that you know things that you can pass on to people is, like, really fulfilling.
Mm-hmm.
I never really thought about it before, but it's nice to be able to tell somebody something or show them the way so that they don't have to maybe struggle as much, or just know things for the future, for sure.
I came out of nowhere.
What do you got there?
What is it?
A foot.
A what?
18-wheeler.
18-wheeler?
18-wheeler.
A W round.
Okay, go inside real quick. We're going to finish this up. We'll be right in to have dinner. I'm going to go inside real quick. I'll meet you in there.
That's it.
No?
Dang.
Yeah, go inside real quick. We'll be right in. I promise. Give us a few minutes. Okay? Okay, we'll be right in. Stay right there. Stay on the ground. Stay out of the camera. But what in with this? I'm glad you chose, and I feel like that's like the coolest option, right? Is
Yeah.
to take we've all had hard lessons, life lessons and career lessons that we had to learn to get where we are today. And I feel like that's like that's the sign of like a good person.
We're here.
We're here.
We're
We
doing
did it, right? And the fact that we've all now heard the story from grade school to who you are now.
Here we
right? And I want to give a shout out to Archetype. Everyone. I mean, I know a handful of people there, and they've all been amazing. They'll come and talk to me and stuff, and Aldo's a good buddy, and you become a great friend of mine.
Hell
and
yeah.
stuff. And whenever I started this podcast, we talked about like why I wanted to start it, and it was just kind of like ill thought. Like I want to talk to people.
I just
like,
wanna.
I want to ask questions to people that I might not. Like, I don't want to ask you while you're tattooing, like, so how does this work? Like, are you, like, how does a tattoo?
I don't know.
Artist?
Just
like,
go for it.
What is this artist thing? You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
was like, so, like, I want to have a space where I can, like, ask people questions that might not be so insane. Because if you're sitting there, you're tattooing my knee or whatever it is, and I'm like, so, like, the tattoo stuff, how'd you get into it? And you're like, I'm already into it. You know what
I
mean?
did
Like,
it.
I didn't want it to be like that. Like, I want to know a little bit. Go ahead. And so I wanted it to be like a space where I can ask my stupid questions because I don't know
they were all
enough.
awesome.
And I just want to know a little bit more. And then like I said, whenever I told you like, would you come on? You're like, heck yeah. I'm like, well, like you were one of the first people I wanted to.
Aw,
I
that's
thought of
awesome.
because like I have a handful of friends and I knew I wanted to talk about certain things. But I'm like, I want to have you because
Thanks,
we've had that history of like you doing coffee stuff.
Yeah.
And then now here you are, and I'm like, dude, that's so sick. It's so cool to see, right?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
Like, again, I said, I'm not that smart, but I can see, me and my buddy always talk about, I don't know who said it.
Einstein.
I think it's in a rap song.
Gandhi.
I think it's in a rap song. But it's
I love bed.
real recognizes real.
Oh, yes.
So simple, right? It's so
true.
simple, but it's so deep. And in any art form, you can look at someone and say yes or no right away.
Totally.
They're trying too hard. It's not real. It's real. They're not trying hard enough. Whatever it is. That morning we talked over coffee, me getting coffee and the magazine and stuff, and you're like, yeah, I'm an apprentice, but I can do something for you. I'm like, sick, let's do it. Like, yeah, I want to try my leg out. I've never had a tattoo on my leg. If you want to do that, you can. And you're like, I'd love to. And then I go in and all of those like, dude, what's up? Chelsea's doing your leg. I'm like, we're starting a big leg piece. A future leg piece is going to take a while. And then like every time I go in, it's like, we're still working on my leg.
Yeah.
Dude. Like it's piece by piece. And I love tattoos that way.
Yeah.
I love them smaller, longer, because it gives us more time to enjoy hanging out.
Yeah, dude. It's been a real pleasure tattooing you, and you're such an awesome person. I've got to tattoo a lot of your family, and
yeah.
I mean,
Mom, Dad, Trent
Yeah.
too, right? Yeah, Trent.
Yeah, I mean, it's really been a pleasure, and I'm really glad to know you as a person, for sure.
You make me cry.
Don't cry. Don't cry.
But all that to say, I hope that everyone's learned as much from Chelsea as I have and all these ignorant questions that I have. But more so, in everything we talked about is if you feel like you have a talent or you have a passion for something, chase it. Because probably more so than anyone I've had on to this day, episode number 6, Chelsey is an amazing example of chasing your dreams. And if you're good at art, here you are.
Do it.
You're chasing your dream. You're traveling, chasing your dream. You're making money, chasing your dream. What more can
Just do it.
A normal person from Nuevo Mexico
Here we
ask for?
Just be persistent. Keep up with it. It will work out in your favor.
Boom.
For show.
You heard it here from the main girl herself. Chelsey Moore, archetype. Make an appointment. Any artist at the shop. I'll link all of the artist descriptions or Instagram. What do they call them? Instagrams, whatever's in the description down below. Like I said, if you want pretty flowers on your legs like me, just go hit up. Episode number 6, Who's French? Thank y'all for hanging out. Miss Chelsey Moore, everybody.
Woo! Thanks, y'all.
Peace.
Peace.